Good morning.
Good
My name,
morning.
Good
my name is
morning.
Alexey, and this is our first ever episode of Social Workers in Trenches. And I'm joined by Zoe and Barbara, fellow social workers. We are going to have conversations about life, work, and what we see in our field.
Mhm.
I've Today's episode is about life and death and how do we have these conversations with clients, ourselves. So the first thing I want to kind of share that the reason I became social worker. Initially, I wanted to work with kids, and I was working in charter school, and I saw a social worker there who was working with children, and I saw how she was able to help parents and kids and facilitate conversations about their educational needs. And I thought that's what I want to do. And I went to Zuie, what's why I was school social work, where my first internship was in the home care and working with adults. And I fell in love because of advocacy, sharing resources and work, and then helping people to navigate different systems and give them voice. So, Barbara, what made you decide to join this profession?
So I grew up in the restaurant industry. I got a job in a restaurant when I was 16 and kind of never left because the money was good. But I was kind of sitting on this a sociology degree for a while. And at one point, I was like, I need purpose. I need to be doing something greater than this. I grew up in the foster care system and I really thought long and hard about the people that helped me. And it was always social workers. So I kind of decided to bring all of that together and I chose to go into case management and then I decided to get my master's and here I am.
Great. Well, you, Zoe.
So I decided to become a social worker, I think around the age of 10. And basically because I was dealing with my own traumas, childhood abuse. And once I realized that, okay, this is not the norm, this is totally wrong. This abuse is totally wrong. I think I was about 13 when it solidified in my mind that this is what I wanted to do. I met my social worker that helped me, I think, all through my adult life when I started high school at 13. And that's when I was like, absolutely, this is what I want to do. I want to help children, people who are experiencing different types of traumas or abuse, and to figure out how I can assist them in getting out of that abuse, with less harm, right? Because you're already being abused, you're being harmed. But I wanted to figure out how can I effectively help individuals get away from that type of abuse, the ones that I was experiencing. That's why I became a social worker.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I
You're
think
welcome.
that's makes social work so filled with variety of experiences and care and love because every person who becomes social worker brings something, their story, right? And their um life experience. And
Hmm.
then turn this passion work, right? And also kind of understanding processes, theories, access to different people, also different readings that you do, and all of a sudden you realize that, oh, there's different thought processes, right? How people think about human behavior, how we learn about habits, behaviors, but also how do we communicate with one another and on what levels, right? It opens eyes. Sometimes it's makes it comfortable. Sometimes when we talk to clients, they sometimes bring up something within us that we didn't know existed. I think the key component to anything is communication. How we
Hmm.
talk about it and how do we share that experience and our thought process and our belief system. Because all of those I feel like they're all interconnected.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
So yesterday I went to see Lion King uh, with my family, and one thing
Beautiful.
that stood out with me about this topic, life and death, is circle of life. The
Circle
very
of life.
famous song, right?
I love that movie.
And the theme, and if you think about it, it is about progression from birth, growth, aging, and death,
Right.
all in one song. It's
Right.
kind of put it together and says, it happens. It will happen.
Hmm.
And then there was this moment where
Mufasa.
Mufasa.
Mufasa
See it.
came, and when he went to elephant graveyard, and when he met hyenas for the first time, right? And then
Hmm.
Mufasa. brought him back, and they said, he was disappointed he disobeyed him, but he also understood that interests and danger and all those things. But the one thing in that scene, he said that I may not be here all the time,
Hmm.
always,
Right.
but if you look at the sky, I'm always there.
Oh,
And I think that's what's kind of struck me because I feel like I didn't think of that before, and this this way when I was watching it, kind of struck me like a little more, and maybe because I'm a little older now, or preparing for this topic, I'm kind of like it's just a part of natural world,
right.
and he wasn't afraid to talk about it. Right? He wanted him to know that there could be death and there could be loss, but I was going to be there with you no matter what happens to me. I'm there for you. So I mean, and I think that's what is a connection. Because if we think about, I don't know why we not talk more about us in a more natural way.
Mm.
Because it's fair. People are afraid of that, right? They are afraid of what's next. So for some individuals, if you're Christian, you might be a little bit more prepared to say, oh, if I die tomorrow, I know where I'm going, right? But I would say a lot of people don't have that confidence. They don't know where they're going. They think, okay, that death is final. That's it. There's no afterlife. There is no rebirth. There's no going to heaven. There's no seeing Jesus. There's no seeing God. So for individuals like that, it's very scary because they're like, that's it. It's final. Right. So I think that fear kicks in for most individuals, and they're like, if I start talking about death, if I start trying to plan for this death, it's almost like I'm asking death to come and find me. And that's how a lot of my residents, a lot of the people that I speak to that are seniors, they do not really want to talk about death.
Just to kind of echo that, Zoe, I also feel like, who wants to get busy planning death when they can't even figure out
How to
their
live.
life?
Absolutely.
And I think that makes it even more difficult. It's like you don't really figure it out till maybe like your 40s or 50s if you're lucky. So who wants to talk about that? Especially like, with Simba. Was he ready for that conversation? I don't know. His father was. And I think as we age and we have our own kids, we definitely want to prepare them. But I don't know. I don't know if Simba was ready for that conversation. He ends up running away when his
Right.
father passes.
Well,
And I can I
right.
just jump in 1 second? I think in that scene, what you see really is as parents, a lot of times we don't prepare our children. We don't prepare that death can happen at any age, at any time. And because of that, when death happens suddenly, unpredictably, w- the family, the children are left stunned, shocked, heartbroken, bewildered. What do I do? Where is the papers? Is there insurance? Is there money to do the burial? Total chaos sometimes can happen. So when I speak to seniors or anyone about death and preparing for death, I tell them, think of it this way as a gift that you're giving your family. I know you're scared, but think of it as a gift because when you die, you want your family, you want your loved ones to come and remember all the good times, all the happy moments. Think of you in that way. I said, you don't want your family to spend weeks, months trying to figure out how to bury you or what you wanted. Do you want cremation? Do you want to go in the ground? Right?
Yeah.
So you want to put the finances in place, and you want to put the locations or your wishes in place. So there's no argument. I think for me, that's the worst thing to see, that family members are arguing. No, mom wants to be in Jamaica. No, mom wants to be in Connecticut. No, mom wants to be in New Jersey. For me, that is the craziest thing because now you're angry. Your family's angry. They're upset. They're fighting instead of coming together to celebrate this beautiful transition that has happened. You lived, you were present, now you're gone. We want to celebrate your life. But how can you celebrate when you're arguing and fighting about finances and location of burial?
So, what you're talking about, I've witnessed once in my life. As a kid, hospice, planning for death, that was never in my vocabulary. And even I would say up until about 2 years ago, I witnessed my husband's family prepare for his father's death.
Hmm.
and he chose hospice at home.
Right.
The family, they were fortunate enough to have the finances to plan a funeral, plan his wishes, and have those hard conversations.
Hmm.
He ended up passing away at home with his children and his wife.
Hmm.
And as sad as it was, to me, that was the most beautiful death I've ever witnessed because I've seen some harsh things, but that was so beautiful. He was at home with his 3 children and his wife. They grew up in that home. When they moved from DR, that's where they moved. So there was a lot of history there. And
Right.
to witness this moment was just, it was fascinating to me because I didn't know that people actually did that or that people lived that way.
Well, I had a choice, right?
Or had a choice, right? That I would have never opted for that because
Yeah.
it's so scary. There's so much that goes into that process, choosing hospice at home.
Right.
So it's very interesting, and it definitely opened my eyes to, a different way to die.
Hospice at home, a lot of times, unless it's introduced to you by maybe a home care or a doctor or nurse in the hospital or rehab, people, it's like scary, it's mysterious, it's suspicious. Like, what exactly is it, right? Hospice at home is paid for by your insurance. So, for example, a lot of times I work with Calvary hospice team, and you could do hospice in the hospital or you could do hospice at home. I think the most beautiful thing is to do hospice at home because, as you say, you're with your family. They're in the moment of your transition. It's not a guesswork. It's not a nurse calling or a doctor calling to say, oh, your mom has passed, your dad has passed, your sister has passed. No, it's in real time that you're getting to spend the last moments with that person while they continue to live. So, let me just give a little overview of what hospice is. Hospice is specialized, holistic, compassionate end of life care. The doctor give you prognosis of saying that you have 3 to 6 months, right? Now, in my experience, I've had many people who went on hospice and came off hospice because the doctor was wrong. They kept living. And that's such a beautiful thing. They offered the support, they offered the comfort, they offered the spiritual and social work components, and that person kept living. That's a blessing to that family because they were preparing for death, but that did not come, not at that time. So for me, it's an opportunity to give comfort and support in that space where someone is terminally ill and death might be inevitable, meaning that the doctor gave the deadline of 3 to 6 months. But as I've seen in my work, sometimes the 3 to 6 months goes on for 2 years, 3 years, because the person gets better because the treatment was effective. They're not just keeping the person alive, but they're actually treating the symptoms. And because of that, the person kept living.
Let me ask you something. Do you think they get better because they have this at-home care? Like
That they
such
have,
focus put on them?
yes,
Like maybe not, I mean,
yes,
yeah, medication, obviously, right? But what if it's all the care and attention that they're receiving from not only the medical field, but whoever their caregiver is?
right. So that's what I'm saying. I think a lot of times they get better because one, now you're having your family pouring in love, right? Unconditional love most of the time, focus love, right? Because now the person is telling you all the beautiful things. I love you. I'm going to miss you. You were a great mom. You were a great dad. So all the questions that that person might have had in their lifetime, being a parent or being a wife or being a husband, now someone is actually saying, no, I thought you were wonderful. I thought you were lovely. I thought you were amazing. Yes, we had issues, but I wouldn't trade you for anything in the world, right? I
Mm.
wouldn't trade my experiences with you for anything in the world. And you have a priest or a pastor
It's
that's
for
coming,
spiritual support,
spiritual
right?
support. You have a social worker that also come to help you deal with the grief, the process that you might be losing your life or the family that you might be losing your loved one. And you have medicine that is uniquely tailored to whatever your disease and condition is. So I think you absolutely can be right that a lot of times they get better because their will to survive trumps the sickness. their
Mhm.
will to survive, especially when they feel love. There's something innately that happens in our body when we experience love. Our very cells, our very organs react to that love. We want to live. It's instinctual in us that we want to live. We don't want to die.
Not only that, but, like, think about how hard we all have to work in this country.
Right.
So I would imagine, like, just getting rest at some point would
It's hard.
benefit.
Right.
Yeah.
It's hard. Who can take 6 months off really without working and having your insurance company say, okay, we're going to take care of you? A lot of times we know that's not the case, even with an injury. You can have an injury, and within 3 weeks to 3 months, the doctors and the insurance companies trying to push you back out to work.
Yeah.
But when it's something like this, what do? You have to adhere to the treatment.
It's what I heard you guys saying, that there's emphasis on dignity, comfort, and meaning. Because what medicine is, what? It's curative, trying to treat
Right,
something.
Mhm.
In a battle for against the disease will eventually win, no
right,
matter what happens.
right,
Mhm.
A war will lose. But the question becomes what happens in between that before we
That
lose
time.
the battle, right? And so the curation and then how treatment is works is that we help they try to figure out how to destroy something in our body, something that cancerous, if it's cancer or other things that comes up, right?
right,
Like if you have a COPD, you have dementia, hospice care, not just focus on cancer
Mm.
anymore. There's also other diagnoses like heart failure, are a
hmm,
lot more prevalent now, also in hospice care.
right,
Mhm.
Thing is about all those diseases is that we don't know when that final chapter is going to happen.
right.
Right.
Our doctors cannot predict. We don't have prediction. We don't have a bosses.
No, no. The
One thing,
doctors give a timeline.
right? But one thing they could try to give people meaning,
Right,
which allows person to relax, and then now they
Mhm.
okay. So what's the meaning behind
right,
sharing stories or sharing wisdoms? I always felt that there's not enough focus on treating, with focusing on being in a right now with all the treatments and side effects and all those things. And a lot of people just stressed out on those areas because that's all medication. You have to get the insurance to pay
right,
for it. Okay, attend to take into medical transportation, you get into a medical appointment
right,
and for the hospital. So there's a cycle of a lot of stress for both one takes care of it. All those phone calls, sitting in the hospital and trying to figure out, well, what went wrong now, right?
right.
Mhm.
What's the doctor saying, right? So you focus so on how to prolong someone's life.
Mhm, mhm.
And then the hospice tends to be, oh, let's just focus on managing pain, symptoms, all of a sudden, all that things that we went through or try to treat something, treat the disease, help person, your loved ones to focus on here and now. Let's focus on pain and manage symptoms. And then you could just enjoy.
Mhm.
So I think what it is, because hospice is a holistic approach, right? It deals with the individual, it deals with their family, it deals with medication management, pain management. It deals with offering, as I say, social and spiritual support. So all the aspects of the individual's lives is being met at
Address.
that one time. How many of us can go to the doctor and start talking about we're having a breakdown, and the doctor might say you need a psychiatrist or a therapist. The doctor might not tell you you need a priest. The doctor might not start talking to you about your religious beliefs or your religious convictions. So here in hospice, you have this band of support that tries to facilitate comfort, facilitate some form of stability in the process of you are going through this phase of maybe your last days. So a lot of times when people think of death, it's confusion. You're in the hospital and they give you a diagnosis and you're like, oh my God, it could be any day now. It could be any
Mhm.
second now. Sometimes hospice is not even mentioned because the person is like, well, you got to think of pulling the plug now. But I think when given the opportunity and the information, people would choose hospice. Yes, I want to go home and die with dignity. Yes, I want to go home and die in the comfort of my home. Yes, I want to go home and be surrounded by the ones I love, if given the choice.
I mean, easier said, right? Because not everyone has someone to take care of them at home. Like, you can get a
Right,
home health aide,
Right.
But some people probably wouldn't opt to die at home if there's nothing there for them. Like, I think location matters, who you have around. So I think in reality, we're talking about a very specific population that can actually, or that would probably choose to access hospice
Right.
if they
Right.
could.
I know that most people don't want to live outside of their home to go live in the hospital
Mm,
to wait for the process of actually passing away. When hospice comes in, they offer some home care, I think 5 hours a day for 5 days. So you get some support, especially if you're still able-bodied to do some of your care, some of your ADLs. You're still able to make a cup of coffee. You're still able to take a little shower. You're still able to use the bathroom. So if you're not too far gone, that you're still able to do a lot of that for yourself, even if you're alone. People might opt to be in the comfort of their home instead of being in a hospital hooked up to machines. So that's always, I think for me, hospice is a great option, but I think a lot of times people don't know that it exists. It's
mm,
like they're not really informed right away that they could get hospice care.
yeah. I actually, I wonder if hospice is going to become a bigger thing now that, well, they haven't passed law, but Hochul's new law about medical assisted suicide in New York City. Do you think people are going to opt for that in hospice?
Well, I think those individuals, there's some people that they're tired, right? What I hear a lot of times is that I'm tired of living. I'm tired of dealing with this world and the crap, excuse my French, the BS that keeps going on and on. Some people are like, I'm 101, I'm 102. I think I've lived enough. I've seen enough. But the thing is, besides the fact that they're saying that they want to go, they're pretty healthy. They're mentally intact, right? They're physically intact. They don't have any disease or conditions, thriving every day. So it's like, I hear you that you want to go, but there's no medical diagnosis that says that your time is coming up, that there is a condition that requires you to be put on hospice. So sometimes I have clients that would ask to be put on hospice. And when we do their labs, when we check their weights, they're fine. When we check them mentally, they're fine. So it's like you don't qualify because you have those qualifying markers that hospice looks for.
But that particular suicide aspect that New York passed a law, which will come in active in August of this year.
Mm,
It's actually related to ILS. It relates to medical diagnosis where people know they don't want to know experience pain because they know it's the end
Mm,
result, right?
right.
Instead of waiting for 6 months to qualify for hospice and then slowly pass away, this would
mhm,
allow to end the life on their terms. And
Terms.
that's the purpose of that law. That's what they envision to be. How it's going to be utilized, we have to see because there are also markers. So there's have two doctors has to qualify for you
Qualified.
of procedure. But again, it's all about giving up. It's all about if I know my disease progression and understand what it's going to be, and I don't want people to
mm,
work in me in that way, see me be completely unable to speak, uh, and
mhm,
and I will have no more control of my own body. I would like to have a choice of paths,
absolutely.
and that's
Right.
Mhm.
right. It's more about passing on my terms when you face with a degenerative disease that
This is
it
Right.
right.
only progresses will get worse and worse. And it's not just about emotional toll, but also financial toll.
Right.
And my hope is that they're going to take a look at it as a tool, part of a tool process
Hmm.
Mhm,
at this, and then have a conversation process. Because I think it's about conversation. And I go back to again thinking in Mufasa and Simba, is because he had a conversation. No matter if the child was able to understand him or not, that was initial conversation and start conversation about
Hmm.
as a normalizing part of a normal routine. It's going
Right.
to happen.
Right.
When is a different question.
Trust.
mm,
And so then how do we bring hope into this? If we're saying
mm,
it's not hospice is not about giving up. Death is not about giving up. It's
Right.
more about shifting focus
So it
and
says here,
enjoying.
it says hospice care is not about giving up. It's about choosing to focus on quality of life, whatever life is left. So whether it's 6 months of life, a year of life, 2 years of life, it's focusing on what type of life do I want to have within that time.
I checked the numbers to look at the statistics
Mm-hmm.
right now,
Mm-hmm.
and the statistics show that um, 25 to 30% of the people who enroll in hospice pass away in the last 7 days.
Mm,
That 50% enroll last in 3 days of life. And then in 50% patients receive hospice care for less than 3 weeks. So it just showcases
wow.
that the longevity part is why people don't stay, like, is because they enter hospice late or
Late, right.
have a
Right.
conversations late, because
Right.
Mhm,
all really is to cure me.
Right.
And we want that as a person, we want that to happen. We want to
Right.
cure the disease. We want to get another 5 to 10 years of life
Right.
for that person, and that's our
Right.
approach, and that's what we want to see. And we're gonna fight, and we're gonna put everything in. So that's what numbers tells me about, right?
right.
And the other part of it, we don't have a good predictions. I think the conversation becomes, how do we balance and what life is, and how
Right.
to enjoy life. You're sharing is about how do we quality of life means not just about being cure of something, what we want to share, like build a legacy. It's all about passing the lessons, passing
Yeah.
the torch, share experiences,
Mhm,
enjoying things, go to restaurants, going to places where whatever you think you like to do, and they just focus on.
mhm.
So it's a shift in mindset.
Right. I think also
Absolutely.
sometimes, I'll be honest with you, it allows you to stop because the natural nature of everyday life is to just keep going. And I would say not so much rich person versus poor person, but most people just go, 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 go. They've never had a real break. They've never really had a real vacation. They've never really spent time to do deep breathing and soul searching and kind of just spend some time with themselves. So now you're in this situation, and what it does, it forces you to think, oh my God, what all my decisions that I've made throughout my life, were they the right decisions? How did these decisions affect me? How did they affect my family? How did they affect the way I live? And sometimes what I hear people confessing, you know what, I treated my body horribly. I abused my body when I was younger. I was drinking, I was smoking, I was doing drugs. I didn't care about what I put in my body, what I ate. So here I am. I'm with this disease, I'm with this condition, and I'm paying for the things that I done before. And it's like, for me now, I come and I say, listen, this disease, this condition could happen to anybody. Death can happen to anybody. It doesn't matter if you're rich, you're poor, you're young, you're old. Anyone could get a diagnosis that says, you have 6 months. So it's not for just old people. Because sometimes I think that's what it is too. People think hospice is for old people. No, hospice is for anyone who is experiencing a terminal illness or a condition, a medical condition where the doctors say your heart is giving out, your lungs are giving out, there's no transplant, there's no hope, it's going to be 3 to 6 months.
So, just because we're on the topic of what are we doing to prolong death, I think, because I've only started really thinking about this lately in my 40s, I think purpose plays a big role, right? Because death scares me. If I'm being honest, the thought of not existing, I fall into complete darkness. I mean, that's probably anxiety about it, right? Because
Right,
the unknown is always scary.
right.
But right now, it's like, I just want to meet my purpose, follow through, and be the best version of me that I can be. And when my time comes, I just want to be able to say, I did what I said I was going to do. I showed up, and that was the best.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm ready. I just want to be ready. And so these conversations about planning and the possibility of hospice and being at home with family and friends, that's appealing to me. That's and Alexei, I probably will have those conversations with my children. Like, this is going to happen. This is what I want. You'll probably end up being my caregiver. Make sure you take care of you as well in the process. But yeah, I think The Lion King was a great example.
I think there's ways to have these conversations, and then using Disney movies and shows are a good way to talk about it because they break it down in a way we don't think. And sometimes they break it down in a way that and asking questions and follow up about those things, right? So, what did you think Simba and Mufasa talk about? And that allows the conversation being not so dramatic or as heavy
Hmm.
because it could be,
Right.
and you just let it go from there. And then the other one that talks about life and death is Frozen, Frozen 1 and Frozen 2. And then Frozen 2 actually has a lot more of death parts to it because they learn how their parents passed away. It also talks about, I don't want to give it away, but Elsa dies in that, and then she comes back in spirit.
Right.
And so that's another conversation. So there's to structure conversations with kids and teenagers and everyone else, adults, through those movies because it allows us to really to talk about in a way that it's broken down in a very acceptable way, I think, but also allows that to just think about it and use those as
Well,
icebreakers, right, for conversation.
Hmm.
And I think the other part that you talk about purpose and mission, and then sometimes people feel like, oh, I didn't achieve something. The thing is,
right,
again, maybe they did. It just they were just busy seeing it. And sometimes taking
Right.
back
right,
will allow you to kind of think, okay, so what have I achieved and what did I do? And then you
right,
realize you may not conquer Mount Everest, but you had done things and you had inspired people in your life.
Hmm.
And
right.
sometimes taking look back and say, oh, I did this. So
I think even choosing hospice, like if this is something new to your family, but choosing that way to pass, I think that's purpose and that's changing something for your children or whoever has to watch you go because it is traumatic. So I think if you feel like you've done nothing else in your life, but you choose to go this way, I think that's teaching someone something. I know watching my father-in-law do what he did, it was just so like on his terms, and he's like, I have autonomy. This is my choice and this is what I will do. It did bring family together. Everyone had to be strong and everyone chipped in. So I think even in his death, he taught a lesson.
I think being prepared is ultimately should be the goal for each person. Like as an adult, you start preparing, start um, putting your proxies in place, putting your wills, putting your POAs, getting all of these things, making medical choices. In the event that you are stable, medically stable, but you say to yourself, okay, you know what? Life might happen, things might happen, and I want to be absolutely prepared. I want my family to be prepared. So you start making the plans and having the discussions, as Barbara says, to make sure that, as I said, there's no fighting, there's no arguing, things are written out because something like dementia, right? You're going along and your mom, your dad gets dementia or Alzheimer's. There's nothing written down of what they want to do, where they want to be buried. Do they want hospice care? Do they want nothing? So I think that once you become an adult, part of your adult responsibility for yourself or your family, if you have children or if you have a husband or wife, is to start having those conversations early. So it could be documented, so it could be written down somewhere. I'm going to tell you a quick story. I remember my mom telling me she was about 20 years old. She just had me as a young baby, and her mom was dying with cancer. Now, her mom did not know she was dying of cancer, in like a long time. So she goes to the hospital, they find this mass, and they tell her it's cancerous. And she within herself felt like she was dying. So for 3 months, she spent the 3 months because I was a preemie. She spent those 3 months taking care of me, making sure I was healthy enough to survive, right? This is the Caribbean. We don't have all this fancy medicine and fancy treatments like in the United States. And she says one day her mom turned to her and said, "Get your brothers and sisters." And she watched within those 24 hours her mom pass away. And for me, I'm just like, okay, so you were present for the passing away, but there was no plans of what will happen for my mom now having to take care of a new baby at 20 and 9, 10 brothers and sisters, right? So for me, it's very important that as adults, that we start making those plans, having those conversations. Who is going to be your support person? Who is going to help? Who is going to finance how the burial is going to be financed? Who is going to everything down to the clothes, the food, where you want to have your service? I think all those things should be planned out because at the end, when you're left with the death and there's no money, there's no support, it's too much. It's too much.
So you're right. I mean, planning is important. I'm thinking to or figuring out how to do that. And I think it's the first step for me. It started with a piece of paper and writing some thoughts about it, right? Start journaling, start thinking about what I want to see in my life,
Mm-hmm.
where
Right.
I want to be, what I want to still accomplish in my life, and then what things I like to see happen down there as disease comes along, or just in general terms, how like to see how my life progressing. What my old age would might look like, right? So it's just more about writing things down and start thinking about those things, and then kind of formulating what's important to me, what's not important to me, what I would like to see happen, what I like to achieve and go from there because it's about life conversations. I feel like if we move away from death as a end, which is it is, but yet while I'm still alive, what I like to see do and play
Right.
and go and experience life until the my last breath, and then what kind of legacy I like to leave for people behind, what they want them to remember about me, and you start that conversation with yourself first, and then you're writing things down and I think after that, when you're able to start sharing it, I came across an article. I like to read it, and then after you read it, like have a conversation about that. There's a way to
Right.
break it down and make it meaningful conversation.
Right.
But it starts again with what I said before: writing things down for yourself. What do you
Right.
want? What do I value? Well, how I like to continue living?
Right.
What's important to me? Right? And then that's opens the door for other conversations.
And I think when you do that, when you start the conversation, you're showing the person that you are making the choices. You are putting the things in place that you want, right? It's not something that's going to be rushed, something that's like an afterthought. You're taking the steps to carefully, lovingly think about what it is you want to see happen in your last days. And you basically try to express how you're trying to keep the stress or the anxiety and the worry and the financial worry off of your family. So when you're having those conversations, like, these are my choices. I am able right now to make choices. I want to make those choices.
So as we coming to close this episode, what do you think are the main takeaways? Or what do you want people to take away from this conversation?
I would say, go ahead, Barbara. Go, go.
For me, I would say start thinking about the way you're living so that you can plan for the way you want to die. I mean, it sounds morbid, but it's the reality.
And I would say that even though death is scary, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that it's the end. It's an opportunity, I think, for you to leave a legacy of some kind for your family and give them a sense of comfort during that time. So I would say don't focus on the fear of death. Focus of how you want to be loved and cared for during that time period.
That's good. I started with Lion King at the beginning of the conversation. And one thing I wanted to bring it back that it's a circle of life. It starts at the beginning, at the birth, and it ends at death. If you think about hospice care, we could think about it as it honors our final chapter.
Right.
And it ensures comfort, dignity, and support for people, their families, their loved ones. And I think
Hmm.
that's kind of what it inspires us to be. And I think if we made it more part of our life,
Right,
then this wouldn't be so morbid,
right.
right? If we start planning beforehand and then thought about it and make it part of life, a circle of life,
Right.
maybe this would be a very different conversation. And then,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
so, all right, guys, thank you very much for listening. I
Mhm.
hope this conversation was inspiring, meaningful, and it was engaging. If this episode resonates with you, please hit like, subscribe, and join us next time. Thank you.
Thanks,
Take care.
Alexei. Thanks,
Bye bye. Take care, guys.